Uchigaki of Japan. And then Shane Van Boning, multiple winner of this title, taking on Andrew Finnegan. Over on 2, Carlo Biado, champion 2 years ago, put up a great defence of the title last year, plays Abdullah Al-Shamari. Shane Wolford, looking to force his way into the American Mosconi Cup team, plays Angelo Labranti. And Tyler Steyer, also with Mosconi considerations on his mind, he plays Franklin Hernandez. So we're just about ready to go. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, winner of the championship after a wonderfully dramatic run just under 12 months ago, taking on John Webber. And Jeremy, as I was saying, 20 years ago since you won the US Open. Now, some people, when you say things like that to them, say, oh, it only seems like yesterday, but it's not always the case. Does it feel like it was a long time ago, or are the memories still very, very fresh?
I think they're pretty active, those memories. I mean, this week Matchroom showed the last rack when I won it, which was always nice, and I think it was a heck of an out to win it, and I'm pretty proud of that. But yeah, kind of get both, I think, at times. It's been a while, and I sure miss that arena, and certainly my favorite tournament in the world.
Of course, you'll be very much at the heart of the action in the Mosconi Cup, captaining the American team again in a couple of months' time, and that's something else that I know we're going to be talking about throughout the week. That man will be there once again, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. He's already got his place locked up on the European team. And the other man we saw just a few moments ago, there he is again, John Webber. And this is a classic case of one of those matches we always get in the early rounds of these big events. It's the big names who are used to being out there under all the focus of attention against players who are probably vastly experienced and steeped in the game, but at a totally different level today. And the big question always is how they're going to adjust to these circumstances.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. You know, the beauty of the U.S. Open is a certain amount of the field can enter and maybe playing the biggest event they've ever even dreamed about playing in, and playing the greatest players. And FSR to kick it off here, our defending champion. I think FSR, it's a good spot for him. Bring back some great memories. You know, to be fair, he struggled at times here of late, and you know, he wants to get on par and take another stab at another green jacket. See an opening lag that looks like it's going to be pretty close. I think Webber is taking it. This isn't a race to 9 early, and then the races will be adjusted as the event moves on.
So just about ready to go, and I think we can always tell a lot early on when someone is playing in a situation that they're not used to. You see them miss an easy ball and it throws them for the rest of the match. But then there are players who settle in very, very quickly. So we'll see which category John Webber falls into. Not quite sure what the weight is in getting started. He looks a bit nervous, to be fair, Jeremy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like it's maybe a little hard to swallow for Mr. Webber at the moment. But, you know, you just do your best to turn the brain off. And, you know, whether you're starting out good, you don't want to think about it and think, oh, man, I'm playing pretty well, things are going nice. Or whether you start off a little shaky, either way. And that's not the start he wanted. Surrendering the cue ball to FSR.
Yeah, and in a good position as well.
Things are going nice. Or whether you start off a little shaky, either way.
It's always the case, of course, when you're going in as a massive underdog. Something might just fall your way through pure luck at the start. You might get a golden break. Your far more celebrated opponent might scratch and gives you a little something to build on. But it's gone the other way here. And this is Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, 31 years of age, defending champion, reigning world champion, world number 1.
Yeah, nice opener there, coming between the 5 and 9, and real natural now on the 2 to the 3. And for the most part, you know, these players know when they're a huge favorite. But for the most part, they won't really try to change a whole lot. They want to get in that game mode because they know matches as they come along will get more difficult. Now, one thing I've noticed from yesterday's practice and just some comments from the players, the tables, of course, on the World 9-Ball Tour, never easy, but maybe the most difficult we've seen all year here at the U.S. Open. That's a familiar face we're used to from FSR, kind of sizing things up.
Yeah, he's been on a great roll for about 18 months or so. There have been times where you've looked at him and thought, for a run of several matches in a row, this is about as well as it's possible to play the game. What really comes into my head is the Premier League in Leicester back in the spring. He had recently won the World Championship, and yes, it's shorter matches and not quite the prestige of an event like this, but I remember he had a run of about 4 or 5 matches in the middle of that event where you just thought, this is as close to perfection as anyone can get.
Yeah, and I think he really just kind of, started off a little slow because of the travel commitments, and him staying in the events so long. He just barely got to that Premier League right before it started.
Yeah, that was continuing that great run he's had. Not been quite so good in the last few months, but still had quarter-finals in the UK Open and the European Open, so certainly no reason to believe his form has deserted him after everything he's achieved in the last year and a half or so. Well, this is a harsh lesson, Jeremy, in the opening rack. John Webber had the break, scratched from it, and then sat down to watch a clinical exhibition. From the world champion, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz very swiftly leads John Webber 1-0. I can tell you there's been a technical issue. I believe it's some sort of power cut, so a number of the matches haven't actually been able to get started yet. We'll keep you posted on how that develops. They are underway on table 2. Carlo Biado, the 2021 champion, at the table, a few balls away from taking the opener against Abdullah Al-Shamari, who's a player I know you rate quite highly, Jeremy.
Yeah, very difficult player, and a player that knocks the ball in really well. Seems to always play his best as an underdog, which he's not an underdog to over half this field. So Carlo's got to pay attention there in that opening match. And I think FSR, it's easy to get a little cloudy when it's looking at someone's kind of how they've been playing and results. And the difference I see with FSR in the last few months, or maybe even 6 months really, is he's having to grind matches out more. He's not really putting those packages together to kind of how they've been playing results. And the difference I see, that's a bad thing. It's just a little with FSR in the last few months, or maybe even 6 months previously.
So the dry break allows Webber to the table, but it hasn't been kind to him in terms of throwing up any sort of opportunity.
Yeah, trying to get the one past the 8 there, and with kind of an ugly 5-7 on the bottom.